I recently made a video about all of my watercolor travel palettes, and several people in the comments were curious about the types of watercolor setups that I use when I'm painting outside. And so this video is for you. I'm Leslie, an artist, illustrator, and former art professor, and I make videos about drawing, painting, and my painting adventures. I'm going to start by showing you some of the basic supplies that I use when I'm painting outside, things that are helpful, and many of them are pretty inexpensive as well. And then I've divided my different setups into 3 different categories. The first category are my lightweight travel boards for sketchbooks and also for loose paper. The second category are the easy and inexpensive DIY setups that I use. And to be honest, some of those are my favorites. And then finally, the third category are my different watercolor Pochade boxes. And those I use mostly when I'm much more committed to wanting to paint. And the whole purpose of going out is for painting. I'll be telling you the pros and cons of each setup, and I'll also be giving you my own personal experiences and thoughts about each one. And keep in mind, if I don't really like something, it doesn't mean that you wouldn't. So you may find something here that's really helpful. If you're interested in seeing a video about my travel palettes, I'll link it in the description. And if you're interested in seeing the other things that I bring when I go out painting, I will link that video in the description as well. I also want to preface this by saying you don't need all of these things that I have. Nobody needs as many setups as I have. But I've been plein air painting for a long time, and as a professional artist, I choose to invest my money in art supplies over things like clothes or shoes or other things that people like to collect. And hopefully my obsession with these will be helpful to you and you'll find something that you like. And with that said, let's get into it. The first thing you want is a palette. These are some of my favorites. And I won't be showing you all the details about these because I've linked that video in the description for you. With the exception of these 2, all of these palettes are metallic, so they'll adhere to magnets, which is very handy. And in fact, even this one, which is made of wood, has lots of little magnets on the bottom. And as you'll see very soon, being able to attach to a magnet is extremely helpful when you're travel painting. The next thing that you'll want is a sketchbook or something to paint on. A lot of times when I'm painting outside, I'll use a sketchbook, and these are the sizes that I like to use most, but you can use any size that appeals to you. The largest size that is my favorite is this sketchbook, which is about 8.5 by 6 inches, but I also like these 2. This is one that I've made, and they're about 6 by 4. And I also like this little one, which is about 2 3/4 by 4.5. But sometimes I like to paint on just a single sheet of paper, and a watercolor block is really handy for that. They come in all different sizes, and then you can just remove your paintings as you finish them. More often than not, however, I like to paint on watercolor postcards. This is a very inexpensive brand in the UK, and it's the only one that's not 100% cotton. So I do tend to use these more for ink drawing than for watercolor. I also like these by Hahnemühle and Etcher. And if I had to pick, I'd say this one is my favorite for watercolor painting. And they do come in a convenient tin, although usually I'll just take out a few sheets and put them in a smaller sketchbook, like this little one here, and it keeps things a little bit lighter. The next thing you'll want is something to paint with. If I'm painting something smaller, I'll often just use a water brush, and my favorite are the Pentel Aquash brushes. In my opinion, they're the most reliable. They release the water most predictably. The synthetic bristles really hold up well. My second favorite are the Derwent, although they are a little bit bulkier to carry. The barrel of the brush is wider. And I also like this one by Caran d'Ache because you can take it apart and it has a smaller profile to store. But if I'm going to be painting something a little bit larger or take a little bit more time, or if I'm going to a destination where I'll be inside, I prefer to use a travel watercolor brush. You don't need to have a travel watercolor brush. You can bring your own brushes. I like these because it protects the bristles and they're just easier to transport. You open them up and then the handle extends the reach. And they all have a little hole on the bottom so that the bristles don't get moldy if you put them away slightly damp. My favorites are the ones by Rosemary & Co. And I also like this set by Escoda. I also like this tiny one that I got. I believe it's a Tintoretto. I could be wrong. It's a number 2 and it has a nice little point for detail work. If you're painting with a brush and you're going to be outside and not near some place with a bowl or a cup, it's helpful to have some kind of travel watercolor pot. You can get freestanding ones that are collapsible like these, and these are a bit larger, which is nice for larger works. Or you could use a smaller one like one of these. One nice feature about these is they have a lid that you can set them in or that prevents any last-minute water from leaking out when you're finished. But a downside of these is the sides are softer, so they are a little more precarious to use. You can also have a single dipper or a twin dipper, and these are convenient because they have clips that you can attach to a drawing board, and they're also magnetic, so they'll attach to a magnet. These also come in metal with either a metal lid or a plastic lid, and I kind of prefer these more than the plastic ones, but it's a personal choice. And if you don't have anything like that, you can just use a little glass jar. This one is from Lush. It used to have some kind of a lip balm, and I have a little magnet on the bottom of this one, so it can also attach to a palette. You can also put magnets on the inside to keep the profile a little bit smaller. Just make sure you don't throw it away when you empty the water. I also like to carry this collapsible funnel so that if I want to carry my paint water away, it's a lot easier to dispose of it. And then I'll just put it in the jar that the water came in. A few other miscellaneous things that always come in handy are rubber bands of different shapes and sizes, carabiners for attaching cloths and other things, and metal rulers, again for attaching things to. I got this one from Natsume Handmade, and they've wrapped it in this paper that is so pretty. But any metal ruler will do. You'll also want to have something for cleaning your brushes. I like to take these thicker paper towels and fold them up so they're ready-made size. I also like to do the same for these shop cloths because they're really lightweight but absorbent. And for watercolor, I love to use terry cloth washcloths. And if you've seen any of my tiny paintings, you'll know that I love an athletic wristband because I can just put it on my wrist and it's super convenient, and it saves me from having to find a place to clip one of these towels. One note of caution, only use the wristband if you're using non-toxic colors. And finally, it's helpful to have some clips. These are some of my favorites because they have a really wide reach, and if your palette or something else has a bit of an edge to it, these can easily get over that. I also love these rubber chip clips. They're colorful and cheerful, and they don't dent the paper. These larger clips are also nice for holding things to your drawing boards. And I also like these clips because they have a magnet on the bottom. So if you clip them to your sketchbook or your board upside down, you have a magnet that you can attach things to. A lot of people like to use bulldog clips. I find that they tend to dent the paper, so I'm less likely to carry these. And I'm more likely to carry these, which have a bit bulkier of a profile, but they have a wide reach and they don't mark the paper. But these will also do the job. And now let's look at the different setups. The first category are the lightweight travel boards. These are perfect because they're exactly what they sound like. They're lightweight, and they also all have a very slim profile. So if you're carrying a sketchbook, you can easily carry one of these travel boards. And most of these will be handheld. This is one of my favorite ones. It's handmade by a company in France named Stablo. I keep mine in this little cloth bag that I bought for about £1 at a nearby store. And inside the bag, I have the inserts, and I also have a few water pots, and I'll show you a little bit more about that in a second. The great thing about this board is that it's made from wood, but it's extremely lightweight. It's only 189 grams. And it's really clever because there are two different boards that are merged together. And in between them up here are several different magnets that you can't even see, but that you can attach your palette or your water pots to. And there's an indentation here where you can attach a sketchbook. So you open the front and back covers, and then you insert those just like that. If you have a sketchbook that has a pocket, some people will remove the pocket because the pocket can make it a little bit trickier to get in there, but I just shove it in there and it's not really a problem. And if you feel like you need to hold the paper open, you can just use one of your clips to do that. And a really clever thing is that it comes with these inserts. It comes with one of each of these. This one is so that you can put brushes in there or pencils or whatever. But because I use travel brushes, I don't really use this one. So I ordered another one of these instead, and these hold your portable water pots. And do you see these little curves on the back? Essentially, you can add these in any one of those areas to attach a water pot. I like to put one over here, and I like to put the second one over on the side. And you can see if I'm standing up, that way I have access to two different water pots. And this will hold all different sorts of palettes. I can take my largest metal palette, and it holds it securely. I can tip the board completely on the side and it's not going anywhere. And that's really cool. This will also hold the Art Toolkit Folio palette pretty easily. Although I do find with these Art Toolkit palettes that attaching them to a magnet isn't always the easiest thing. And I think that's partly because they don't lie flat. This is curved up slightly and then this bevels down. So if I'm going to use this, I'll just take one of these clips to give it a little bit of extra stability, and then everything is fine. I also like to use this smaller palette, and you can put them over on the right or over on the left. And the same for these two attachments. So they're good for whether you're right-handed or left-handed. Or if you'd like, you can also put it in the middle. There's this elastic band that goes all the way around, and that's what helps hold the inserts in place. And I can also add a brush there and another one there to hold brushes if I have more than one and I want to make sure they don't fall. I like to take a cloth and a clip and just add it here so that I have some place to clean my brush when I'm painting. A fun attachment for this one is this little piece of wood. And this will attach it to a tripod. There's a piece of Velcro on the back and a few stoppers to help give you a little bit of height so that it's not wobbly. And then on the reverse side, you can see that I added the companion Velcro that came with it. You don't need to have this. For the longest time, I just had the board on its own. But sometimes I want to really get in there with a painting, and this is nice because I can attach this and then attach a tripod mount to this little screw. And now it becomes a Pochade box, really, where I can attach it to a tripod and sit down and paint comfortably for hours. So I can then just clip it onto the tripod mount and adjust it to whatever angle I'd like. And then I'm free to stand or to sit and paint, and it's very comfortable because I don't have to hold anything. And it's still very easy to put away. I'm using a more heavyweight tripod for these demonstrations that I normally use for oil painting, but you can easily use a lightweight portable tripod for this and it'll have the same effect. You can also use a tabletop tripod, and then it becomes a little tabletop easel. This is probably one of my favorite setups because it can fit in a backpack or even just a bag. I can put all of the attachments in there and even my sketchbook. And so then all I need to carry are the bag that holds this and my art kit. And if you want to remove it, I like to hold on to the Velcro on the bottom and just pull it up. And you can store this separately or in the same bag. If you didn't want to keep your attachments in a separate bag, you can also just slide them in here and that will hold them securely as well. I like to keep them in the bag because they are lightweight and I don't want them to break, and I don't always use them. I like to use this board for drawing or for painting, sometimes using my aquash brushes, so it has a lot of versatility. I'm not sure what this one costs at the moment, but I'll link the company in the description. I rate this one really highly because it's lightweight, it's portable, it's versatile. It can do many different things depending on what you're interested in. It has a lightweight profile and it's cleverly made. I love items that are more clever than anything that I could make. So on the scale of best and worst, I would rate this up towards the top. And so this one gets a gold star from me. Next in the lightweight travel boards category are these adorable little travel boards made by u.go Sketching in Cornwall, England. So just down the road from me. They come in many different sizes. I have two of them. This one is about 4 by 6 and they're incredibly lightweight. They come with a little water pot and a pencil, a magnet, and some elastic, and you get to pick the colors that you like for the board as well as the elastic. This is their larger size, I'm sorry, I don't know what I've done with the pencil on this one, but it can hold a pencil, or you can also put a paintbrush in there if you'd like. And the water pots are removable. Here are some things that I love about this. It is so lightweight. I'll give you the weights of the different sizes. This one is 4 by 6 inches, and it's about 44 grams. And this one is 6 by 8 inches, and it's 80 grams. My favorite one is the 4 by 6. I have a 4 by 6 sketchbook that I've made, so I can carry these together. It takes up hardly any extra space at all. And the way that this one works is similar to the Stabilo. You open the front and back covers, and you tuck the sketchbook into these notches, and then you fold the pages down. And each board comes with 2 clips so that you can hold the sketchbook pages securely. And then, like I said, you can attach a travel pot to the side for water, and the magnet will hold a magnetic palette. For the 4 by 6, I like this little travel palette that I repurposed. It was a really inexpensive student set that I found on eBay, and I upcycled it. I have a short video about this that I'll try to find and link in the description. But this one fits perfectly here, and then I'm hands-free to paint. And the palette is held in place very easily, so it's not going to fall off. And the nice thing about this palette is that it is flush on the bottom. I can also use my art toolkit palette, but it's a bit less secure because of this zigzaggy thing I already talked about. So I can put it this way and it's a bit more secure, or I can put it this way and it's a bit less secure. The way that I like to do it is just use one of my clips and clip that corner, and then everything is fine. This doesn't bother me at all. It might be a deal breaker for you, but I think that it works just fine. And then the larger one is for a larger sketchbook, and it works the same way. So the water pot attaches to the side, and you can attach your palette to the magnets. I like to use this one a lot because it's just a really nice size for travel painting, and it holds onto the palette really securely. I also like to use my wooden palette by Natsume Handmade, and all of these little magnets on the back mean that it's also going to be held securely onto the magnets. I can also use the Art Toolkit palette, but I have that same issue of that ledge making it difficult. So a few workarounds: I can put it on the side of the board, and then the mixing part hangs off the back, and the bottom is held securely with the magnet. So that's one option. Or I can turn it this way, and again, just attach a clip. I find that the folio works well because it's a little bit heavier, and so both magnets will hold it together really nicely, and it's still pretty secure for mixing on. Another option is to take a rubber band and put it around the board, and you can put your palette through that, and between the magnets and the rubber band, that also will hold it really securely. Pros and cons of this one. I love it. It's so lightweight, I don't even have to question whether or not I'm going to bring it. If I think I'm going to be travel painting and I bring a sketchbook that's the same size, it's going to come with. I also really like how it's made. There's a lightweight plywood in the center that you can't even tell is there, but that gives it enough stability so it's not going to bend or bow. And then it has this fake leather that's attached to both sides. And it's pretty fun that you can pick out your own colors. They put a colored sticker on top of the magnet, and it matches this elastic band. One other thing I didn't tell you about is I like the elastic band on the back because when I'm painting, I can hold the board that way, and it gives me a little bit more stability. So that's handy, no pun intended. A couple of things I noticed. I purchased this one probably 2 years ago, and this one about a month ago. And I've noticed a few differences. The magnets on the newer one are a lot skinnier, and I personally don't like that. I like that these magnets are a lot thicker because it gives you more stability for holding your palette. And I noticed on the newer ones that this elastic is slightly thicker. The original one came with the plastic water pot, which is not my favorite, not a deal breaker. I don't know if they still come with the plastic. The larger one came with the metal, which is the preferred size for me, so that was a plus. And my original one came with these clips, which I really liked. They nest together easily. If I wanted to, I could store them on the board. Again, I don't do it that way because I like to just keep it with my sketchbook. I don't really like these new clips that it came with. They're just a bit bulkier. It's just an aesthetic thing. I prefer the ones that are a bit more curvy to the ones that are more square. For the design, the weight, the easiness of travel, and the stability of the painting experience, I would give these a gold star, hands down. But I noticed that the price has really gone up. I had a couple viral videos a few years ago using these, and I've noticed several other creators have made videos showcasing these, so maybe he just upped the price to make it worth his while because he was getting more orders. But this one was £10 more now than what I paid for it. And this one also was pretty expensive. So for price, I've got to give it a bronze. So gold star for design, bronze for price, silver overall. But if you have some extra money and you like the design, it really is worth it. They are really well made and they're delightful to paint with. Next category are the easy, inexpensive DIY setups. And I'm going to start with your basic clipboard. This one is about 6 by 9 and I found it in my parents' basement. And this one is about 3.5 by 5 and I got this one in London at London Graphics Center. Although I'm pretty sure you can get these online. The classic design is awesome because they're pretty lightweight. The larger one is 132 grams and the smaller one is 54 grams. And the best way that I find to use these is with postcards or loose pieces of watercolor paper. You can clip the paper to the board just like so. You can take one of these clips and put it on the side and attach a water cup. Or if you didn't want to mess with that, you could just clip the cup directly to the board. Because I don't want to scuff it up, I find it easier to just use a magnet and do it that way. And then I can take my travel palette and just clip it to the bottom. And I'm ready to paint. It's held together very securely, it didn't cost very much, and the painting experience is pretty nice. Another way you can do it is if you're painting vertically, there's enough room to do it this way, or you can shift your paper in the opposite direction. Add your water pot to the top, your travel palette to the side. And this is where this clip comes in handy because it can just go over the edge and everything is held securely. And for the price, you really can't beat it. I personally love to use clipboards for painting. They're lightweight, you can hold them. If you're in a position where you're sitting down at a table, you can put everything down next to you and you have a really secure board that holds your paper. And you can tape these down if you want to as well. I can also take a metal ruler, clip it to the board like so, and then I can take a magnetic palette and it will be held together that way. If you're painting postcards or single sheets, this is so awesome. And if you wanted a separate cloth for painting, you could also clip that to the side or up here. And this little one works the same way. For something this small, I would use an aquash brush, but I can easily attach a little palette and paint with it that way. For price, this gets a gold star because clipboards are not that expensive. For convenience, I really like this design a lot. For portability and convenience and weight, I would give this one a gold star as well. And it also gets a gold star for price because you really can't beat it. You could find clipboards almost anywhere, no matter where you live, even in your parents' basement, if they have one. And on the theme of clipboards, you can always get a folding clipboard. These are often referred to as nurses' clipboards because they're used in hospitals and by medical professionals. And they're awesome because they fold up. So you could hold a sketchbook inside of here to help protect it. And then you can open it up and you can put one edge of your sketchbook under the clip and the other over on the right side under a rubber band. Or if you don't like that, you can just add another clip on this side. And again, that's where these really come in handy. And this way I'm able to accommodate a sketchbook, which is fantastic. This is a 4x6. You could also do a larger sketchbook by putting it in the other direction. And then you have all of this space up here for doing lots of different things. I could even add a really large palette and just clip it on. You can customize these by adding magnets of your own, or again, by using a magnetic ruler. And if you didn't have a board, you could clip that in here, or you could use other clips to attach it. You can attach a water pot to the side, or you can use one of your magnets to attach it. And there's even room in the middle if you want to put a cloth for cleaning your brushes. And for the Art Toolkit palettes, these are great because you can just put them anywhere you want. And one clip will hold it. And this little edge here also gives it some more stability. So even though there isn't a magnet there, one clip holds it really securely. And you can put a cloth there for cleaning your brush. You can attach extra brushes on the side. There are so many different options for this. I love its versatility. It is a little bit heavier, so if you have sore wrists, it might not be the best option. For me, it's a little bit too heavy to be able to hold it for a long period of time. But it's nice if you're in a travel situation where you might need to move because you can have everything together, and if you need to pick it up and go to a different location, or the light is changing, or you need to maybe take a break and go use the bathroom, you can easily just take this with and put it in your bag this way, and then it's all ready to go. A lot of times I find when I'm painting outside, having to use the bathroom is a big negative because if you have a lot of equipment set up, you either need somebody to watch that equipment for you, or you need to be able to break it down really easily and take it with you. So for that, this is a pretty easy option. And this was not my idea. I actually got this idea from another YouTuber, and I will look for that video and link it in the description because I think it's absolutely brilliant, and you should definitely go check out his videos about it. This one is made from, I don't even know what kind of material, some kind of plasticky material. This is an aluminum one. I was hoping it was going to be metallic. It isn't, it's just aluminum. But this is another option. It's the same idea. The weight on these for the plastic one is 241 grams, and for the aluminum one, 219 grams. Another nice feature about the plastic one is that it has this little notch where you could put a brush or a pencil. And this one would be great as well if you wanted to use a watercolor block, or if you wanted to use just a loose sheet of paper. You could always kit it out that way. For weight and convenience, I would give this one, I'd give it a gold star. Anything that's DIY and inexpensive to me is almost always going to get a gold star just for that reason alone. It does slip a little bit into the silver star category for me if you're somebody like me where your wrists get tired, or maybe you have arthritis. So this might not be the best option for you if you're looking for something that's going to be lightweight and handheld. So it might slip into the silver or even the bronze category if that was the case. Affordability, this one is a gold star. And so I would say the final rating on this one would probably be a silver star. Unless you like to work really large, in which case it's a gold star. The next DIY setup is using a piece of corrugated cardboard and cutting a rectangle with a little notch out of it, similar to the Just Go Sketching one. And you can clip it into place. And I've attached some external magnets. That's optional. And I've also added a rubber band. And I put them this way to help accommodate my Art Toolkit palette, but I do also need to add another external clip. And if I don't want to use a water brush, I'll use one of these magnets to attach my water cup. And this is really nice and lightweight, and I can use the rubber band on the back to help hold things securely. And I can also tuck some brushes into that. A negative component of this is that it will bend, especially if you're adding a rubber band. So you do have to be careful with that. It's not going to hold up very well. It's just something that if you really don't have a lot of money, but you want to have some kind of a setup, you can find this material lots of different places, even old political signs. Go to your local voting facility and they may even have some that they can give you. You can use this design if you're handy with wood, and you can make your own. There are lots of clever things that you can do with different materials, but this is just for somebody who might like the Just Go Sketching one but not be able to afford it. And it'll get you there. I would rate this one as a bronze because personally I'd rather use a clipboard than this. And if I liked the design of being able to add a sketchbook, I would just take a clipboard and a saw and cut out my own notch and be able to use a clipboard that same way. But it is super lightweight. It's only 19 grams. So it's not going to add a lot of weight to your setup, which is convenient. You could cut it in the other direction so that it's less likely to bend this way, but then it's more likely to bend the other way. So it swings and roundabouts, really. Overall, I'd rate this one a bronze. And the last little DIY setup is this very lightweight box that I got with my Schmincke granulating watercolors. But you don't need to buy those to be able to get a box like this. Any craft store is probably going to sell something very similar. This one is about 5 inches by 4 inches, which is a really convenient size for me. And I've already kitted this one out for you. This is a little Pochade box, which is all in one. It holds everything that you need to do a painting. So what I've done is take 7 of my favorite watercolors and put them along the top with a little sponge to hold them in place because there's some extra space. And then I took the bottom of an unused watercolor palette, the outer flap, took that off, and it was a perfect fit for this box. And there was a little bit of extra space there, so I put a few shish kebab skewers, and the top one can come out if I want to use that for measuring. Then in the lid, I've cut several small pieces of paper from a sheet of arches. And I have some white tack here for being able to secure them to the lid. This used to be here and it held the different tubes of paint. It can also go here in the lid if I wanted to put my paper and rest it on that ledge. The reason that I've kept it is because I can easily, when the box is open, set it in here, kind of wedge it up a little bit, and it's going to hold it at an angle comfortably for me. And that makes it nice for painting because it just holds the paper up a little bit higher, or I can also do it straight if I preferred that. I can use the white tack, or I could use some washi tape if I preferred that, and attach my paper to the lid. And then I can use a water brush, or I can use an external brush and take one of these clips and add a water pot to that. And for this setup, I'd probably use my wristband for cleaning the brush. And it's super lightweight. I really like this one. I haven't used it yet because I just recently set it up, so I can't give it a completely honest rating, but I'm going to tentatively rate this one as a gold star because I'm really excited to use it. I love the possibilities. I like that it's just a little box and it has everything I need. I could even put brushes in there if I wanted to. If it's loaded up with all of the paper, let's see how much it weighs. Comes in at about 143 grams, which is not bad for a Pochade box. If I wanted to get super clever, I could put an attachment on the bottom to add it to a tripod, but it's so small that that's really a bit overkill. This is probably one of my favorite ways to paint. All you need is a sketchbook, a small palette, a water cup and a brush, or just an aquash brush, and a clip. I used to prefer painting in landscape sketchbooks because I really prefer for my paintings to be in this direction instead of portrait. But if I buy a portrait-sized sketchbook, I can just turn it around. I can take a water cup and attach it up here. And then I can take a small palette. And this is the Art Toolkit Demi. This is my dried gouache palette. And I can clip that one right here. And then if I'm painting with water, I can just use a travel brush, or I can bypass the brush and the water cup altogether and just do the whole thing with an aquash brush. And this is so easy because it requires absolutely nothing extra. So I can loosely hold this in one hand, I can paint, I can mix, I have water to clean my brush, I would use my wristband to clean it, and then I could paint. So it's very lightweight. All you really need is a sketchbook and a tiny bag for the extras. So this one is 100% a gold star. So if you're painting with an aquash brush, this is all you need. And if you're painting with a travel brush, this is all you need. And the final category are my watercolor Pochade boxes. And these are probably among my favorite. This first one was sent to me by Natsume Handmade very generously a few years ago. And it is probably the subject of one of my most viral videos on all of my platforms. So if you want to see it a little bit more closer, just go to my short videos, click popular, and this one will come up. I'm going to start with the weight. This one is fully loaded. It's 351 grams. You can put this one on a desk, you can hold it, or you can attach it to a tripod. There's a little thread for a tripod mount. And it is one of the most clever designs ever. You open it up and there are these magnets here on the bottom, and they correspond to these little magnets on the sides. And so you can take a sheet of paper or a watercolor postcard and you can attach it securely to the lid. So you just take your sheet of paper, you put it on the lid, and these magnets will literally find the corresponding magnet underneath. You don't even have to worry about it. They're that secure and strong that they hold everything into place. And here you open up the bottom. These two areas slide out, and you can take one of these water cups and put it on this side. And this side is a little palette for painting. It has 3 channels for watercolors, and it did come with empty pans, but I chose my favorite A Gallo paints and put them in here. And then I have some travel watercolor brushes in this notch here, down here, and I have a little sponge for cleaning my brush. So literally everything is all in one. I have everything I need to make a painting. And again, I can also attach this one to a tripod if I want to. This one was a gift. It came out of nowhere. I was completely surprised. I've had lots of viral videos with products by Natsume Handmade, and so every once in a while she'll surprise me by sending a gem like this. But I have to tell you, even if I hadn't been gifted this, I would buy it because it's so special and you feel like you really want to paint with it. And it passes that test as well, that if you need to leave for any reason, you can easily take everything apart. And then these magnets store down here so that they go into this recessed area. And you're ready to go. This is so easy to carry. And then I'll usually just have some postcards on the side that I can take with it. And it's all you need. I would rate this one a gold star for its portability, its convenience, how clever it is. It has these really industrial hinges on the back, so you can adjust this to any level you want. You can have it all the way down so that it's straight. You can tip it at any level that you want. And the way that I like to paint with watercolor is that I like to have space. I don't like so much having a ledge where the paper's inside. So this is fantastic for that. I really get giddy about this and I can't talk it up enough. So this one, gold star all the way. This next Pochade box is the big boy version of this one. It's bigger, it's heavier, but it does a lot more. It's a little over 6.5 inches by 8 inches. And the weight is a staggering 906 grams. And that is my biggest complaint about this. It's not one that you probably want to feel comfortable putting in your backpack. But if you're traveling by car or you have a short distance, it's really amazing. I have used it with this sketchbook, which is a similar size. This is the Perfect Sketchbook by Etcher, and it's made of solid wood. I don't know what these on the side are for. I believe it's so that you could maybe attach a strap to it, although it didn't come with a strap. And on the back, it has 2 different spots for attachments for a tripod so that you can attach it at different levels depending on your preference. So you unscrew these a little bit and this, and then you open it up. I'll show you the top first. It has these little screws here that you can open, and it leaves enough space so that you can put a sketchbook in there. Or I suppose you could put a canvas in there as well. And then this goes up or down depending on how high or low you want it. And then you tighten the screw on the back to secure it into place. Again, for this one, I have a viral video setting it up, and I've also used it when I went drawing at Bowood House. And unfortunately, I ran out of time because I got so invested in the ink drawing that I didn't have time to paint. I had to come home. But here's how you set it up. So you lift this. These are unscrewed a little bit to allow for the depth of the sketchbook. And you don't need to do that, but I found that it gives the sketchbook a bit more stability if you screw it in like that. And then you just put this down. These little screws will tighten over the top of the sketchbook, and then you tighten the back to hold it into place. And if you do that, it's really not going to shift or go anywhere. You do have the little matter of this part of the sketchbook hanging off, and I just clipped it and it was not a problem. I'm going to fold it all the way down for the setup, and then I'll show you how it looked on an easel. So just like the smaller version, these 2 sections open up, And this one can hold multiple brushes. My travel brushes don't fit in these different slots. So what I did was I took one of these cases for the travel brushes and I fed it through this little lip here and I clipped it to hold it into place. And that way I could have my travel brushes out and they stood up and they were convenient for me. And then these just hang down and I could use this section for a cloth for cleaning my brushes. And this section will hold a water pot. Unfortunately, this one is a bit too small. And I find this one a little bit too big, opened up all the way. So I just open it up halfway. And then that fits in there nicely. And that's enough water for me. These magnets on the bottom will accommodate a larger palette and hold it securely. And it has this little ledge here. I have no idea what this is for. It has these magnets on the bottom and you can put it in this way. If you're more clever than I am and you know what that does, please let me know in the comments, because all I can think is that it's useful for adding like a water pot or something like that. If I take this out, it very nearly holds the folio palette, and it does give it enough stability that it's not going to go anywhere. I also did add a clip here just to hold the sketchbook open. And there is a viral video about this setup as well, and you can probably find that in my shorts feed. One of the things that is really great about this one and the other one is this hinge that allows you to angle your sketchbook any way that you want. And if you're doing a lot of washes in watercolor, that is a really helpful thing. If I'm going to give this one a rating, I would say for convenience and for the functionality of it, I want to give it a gold. If I was traveling by car, it would be a gold because I love it. I love the versatility and all of the different options that it has and that everything is all together. If I was going to be hiking somewhere, which incidentally is how I used it, I'd probably give it a silver, maybe even a bronze if you have lots of pain issues, because it is quite heavy. But if you're not traveling a long distance, or maybe you're going to be painting near your vehicle, it's gold star all the way. For affordability, I'm not sure how much this one is at the moment. This is another one that I was very generously gifted. This isn't a sponsored video, but I didn't actually pay my own money for this. Would I? That's a good question. If I was going to work in a sketchbook with a larger setup like that often, I think I might. Yeah, definitely, depending on how much it costs. The weight is the biggest thing for me. And I did buy a similar one recently to see if it was going to be any better. And it's the u.go, which is very easily available to people. It's a similar size. It's a little bit more narrow, at a little bit under 6 inches. And I hoped it would be lighter weight, but it's actually quite heavy as well. And this one is 650 grams. So it is lighter weight. Somehow I don't like this one as much. It does have the magnets on the sides. You can take out this portion and replace it with different things. It's just like a plastic composite. I'm not sure what that's made out of. I'll find out and put it on the screen here somewhere. And similar to the Natsume Handmade, it has this area where you can put a sketchbook and you can clamp it in. It has recessed bits where you could put some brushes. And then you can use this area as a mixing well, or you can put a palette there. Again, it's not magnetized, so you would need a clip to attach it. And it's a little more difficult for the clips to reach, but it's pretty secure in there. So this actually might be nice. I just got this. I haven't really used it yet, but you have the mixing well here, and then here you can fill this up with colors if you wanted to. You could put a larger metal palette in here, and you could even put the folio palette in there, although not as comfortably. And like the Natsume Handmade, it has an attachment for a tripod. Either one of these would be fantastic for using as a tabletop easel as well. This one does not have an attachment for the side for your water, so you'd need to find a way to attach it. They do sell brackets and panels on the side that you can put for your accoutrements. And I have a larger one of these that I use for oil painting. And I find those things on the side to be really cumbersome. And then you have to carry this extra equipment. So I don't like it for that. If I was going to add a water cup, I don't know how I'd do it with this. I'd probably maybe take one of these clips. You do have these clips if I take this off, so I can add them here. So that could work. I would choose to do this over getting one of the attachments, simply because it's just extra bulk to carry, and I don't like having to set them up and take them down. I like my painting setups to be really streamlined. But if that's not a problem for you, you might like this option. Similar to the Natsume Handmade, this one also can be adjusted, and the hinge is really tight, so you can adjust the sketchbook setting. One thing this offers that the Natsume Handmade doesn't is that you can adjust how high or how low you want your sketchbook, so that's quite nice. It has these teeth that hold it into place. So the only thing I don't have here is some place to clean my brush, so I could use either a wristband or I could easily attach a cloth up here or hang it off the side. And if I wanted to store some extra brushes, I could just put them up here. And I would probably rather do that than mess with the attachment on the side. One other thing for both this one and the Natsume Handmade is that they can both accommodate a watercolor block. A downside to this one is that you can't really easily work on just single sheets of paper unless you have some kind of board to attach that paper to. But again, that's not a deal breaker. You could bring a clipboard or even an art panel. This one's gessoed, but I've taken these panels that I use for oil painting, and I often will attach a watercolor postcard or something to these, tape it down, and then that can be used on the easel, just like that. The Natsume Handmade can accommodate postcards or loose sheets of paper. You can put them on the bottom in these notches here, and you can tape the top, or you can put it up a little bit higher and tape all around it with some washi tape or some painter's tape. I'm going to give this one and the Natsume Handmade similar ratings because they do similar things. I would say they're both gold or silver, depending on if you have someplace easy to be able to transport these with you when you're painting. The breakdown on both of these and the setup is about the same, and the features, again, are very similar. Final rating for both this one and the Natsume, I'd say, is a silver to gold. This is the larger u.go. This one is 11 by 14, and I bought this one for oil painting, but it inspired me to buy the smaller one because I thought this one could almost be used for watercolor, especially if you work larger. This would be a really nice option. It is heavy, 1,841 grams, but I'll put it on the tripod and let you see how it looks there. One thing this is fantastic for is if you like to paint large works. I have a 9 by 12 watercolor block here, which it easily accommodates. And these parts go up higher, so you could even put in a larger one if you wanted to, or even just attach a drawing board to this with watercolor paper taped to that. One thing I realized as I opened it is that it's set up for oil painting for me. So this is actually a glass palette that I painted on the back. And so this is obviously going to be a lot heavier. The palette itself came with this white palette, which is a lot lighter. Or I could just take it with no palette at all. And it has these nice recessed areas to keep the weight down. So if I wanted to, I could put my palettes in there. I mean, it fits both of these palettes so beautifully. I could just use even one, and I could put other things over here, like my water pot. And depending on the angle that I have this, I can have it be a bit more level if I wanted to. And I could put some cloths here for cleaning the brush. So this would be a nice option as well. This recessed area here accommodates 6 of my travel brushes, so that's pretty awesome. And it would be very easy to paint large works. Now, if you wanted a larger palette, you could take a plastic palette, and this one is a bit too large, but you might be able to find one that is the right size to fit inside. Or you could use this palette as your own mixing well. And again, if I angle it up like this, it will contain the washes, and then I can adjust this as I want to. And again, for washes, this is great because I can hold it up, or I can push it back, and I can control the wash a little bit better that way. These are the attachments I was telling you about. It's these two separate panels, which add extra weight, and then these two brackets, which I really find cumbersome. These are difficult to travel with, and they attach here and here. And then these little notches go here and here. And so you can put different things on those, like maybe a couple water pots. Or if you want to put a larger palette with more mixing wells, and you would have all of this space. So you would have lots of colors, you'd have lots of mixing wells, you'd have wells here. You have a lot of mixing capacity. And for painting larger works, this is a fantastic setup. Again, I'd probably ditch the side panels and just do that, but some people might not mind that they're that cumbersome. And it's definitely really handy to have this top part that you can close and angle in any direction that you want. It's pretty solid as well. It's not very tippy, so I think it would hold up pretty well in a windy area, which is something I always think about living in England. So I would say if you're going to paint larger works, I'd give this one a gold star. It's affordable and it has a lot of options that are helpful. I would just ditch the side panels and save your money, or maybe just get one. Next is this wooden messenger box that I was sent by Blue Star Crafts. They were sweet enough to monogram it for me. And I wasn't sure that I would like this, but I've used it a few times, surprisingly, and I really, really do. It's about 7.5 inches by about 9 3/4 inches. And the depth is about 2 1/4 inches. The really nice thing about this is you can carry it like a purse, or you can just carry it with this shorter strap here. And the lid is also an easel. You can see this ledge here. It has this beautiful latch, and it opens up, and you can put all of your painting supplies in the bottom, and you can put brushes and pens and other things up on the top. It has lots of clips and elastic areas where you can put some things like scrap paper, pens, pencils, brushes, whatever you want. The only thing I don't have in here at the moment are my water brushes, but I have carried them in here before. I think I put them here where that wooden palette is. It holds a lot. So in addition to all the pencils, it holds 2 water cups. I have 2 different palettes, my brushes. I have a whole set of postcards and a little sketchbook. And then it has this little bit that you put up, and then you turn the box to face you and you paint on this side. The downside to this is that you need to have a table, or you need to have something available because it's more of a tabletop easel or a picnic blanket easel. I've used it on picnic blankets and picnic tables. And I actually haven't used the easel this way. What I've done is I've just used it as this wonderful box where everything is available to me. And then I've taken these water pots, filled them up, and put them in here for a little more stability. And then I did a watercolor postcard, and I just held the watercolor postcard pad and did it that way. But I had my paint and my water cup securely in here. So in that regard, it was a bit of a Pochade box. And I taped my postcard to the cardboard on the back and held it up so that I could paint really easily. It was such a comfortable, cozy day, and I really loved the setup. I've recently talked about the portable painter because it's a newer acquisition to me, and it would fit in here, but I found I'm not completely in love with this. If you wanted to use the portable painter with this, you easily could. And it doesn't quite fit inside, but you can put it over off on the side like this, or put it over your knee, and you could paint with it this way. But I've kind of found a way that I like to use it without the palette. And I've added an extra rubber band, which you don't need to do. You could use the one it comes with, but I didn't want to stretch that one out. And I found that if I take these 2 water cups together, which I prefer to these because they're more stable, and I can attach them together with the rubber band and set them on the side here. And they're very secure then, and I can put them in here. I can have one for clean water and rinse water. I could put them in any direction, and I could put my palette next to them and then hold this for painting. That's the way I would like to use it, but you could also use it as an easel on the other side as well. So it has a lot of options and versatility, and I'm really enjoying this. And these then store nicely in the bottom, Or if I wanted to, I could even put my watercolor brushes on the inside. And I could secure them with the clip if I wanted to. And then chuck in an extra palette. This is a really lovely palette by Art of Soil. And I like the mixing well on it, and I like the beautiful natural colors. I have a short video about this somewhere as well. And then it all goes together and you can carry it quite easily. I would say if I was going to rate this one, I would give this one a gold star as well, which surprises me because when I first received it and saw it online, I thought it would probably be more of a silver or a bronze or not something that I'd be that interested in. But it's been surprisingly fun and lovely. And I do usually bring my Sendak with me, so I don't usually take just this, but you could. What I chose to do is put this in a smaller bag where I had my wallet and my water and other things, and then I carried this separately. And then another time I just put them together in a backpack with all of my other things. And it's so well made. All of their products are so well made. I didn't include this in this video because it's for larger setups, but I absolutely love this little tiny watercolor Pochade box, and I've used this several times. And I wouldn't recommend anything to you if I didn't 100% believe in it. I have received things from people in the past that I didn't really like, and I don't show them online. So that's one thing to know about me. And the final Pochade box that I'm going to show you is the Scout by Peg and All. And I am completely in love with this. I have a long video that I made all about how I set it up, and I'll link that in the description. And I also have several short videos. This one is an all-in-one Pochade box, so it's for both watercolor and oils, or you could also use it for acrylics and gouache. It is made of leather and reclaimed wood, and it has a pouch on the outside where I normally put my brushes. They're not in here right now. It has an attachment for the brushes here that's on the side. You undo the snaps on both sides. And then you fold this back. And if you want to, you could attach it to a tripod. It does have a screw on the bottom to attach it to a tripod mount. I don't really do that. I don't know if I would do that, simply because I usually use this when I have some place to set it down, but it is an option. There is another pouch on the inside, and I have pens and some more brushes and a ruler and other things in there. This lid is removable, and it has two snaps here, and you put it in these notches, and then you can take the back, and you can actually put a panel up on top. So if I'm painting with a watercolor postcard, I could wedge it in here, and that will hold it on its own. Or if I want to add another clip, I can do that as well for a little bit more stability. It's set up right now for watercolor because that's what I did most recently. I made the mistake of putting gram watercolors in here, and I'm probably going to try to figure out a way to get them out and put something else in here because I think the moisture of it is not good for the leather when I close it up. So I'll probably be replacing these, but it works beautifully. And then you can hold different things in the drawers. It has these little containers that you can snap on the side that will hold your water. So again, one for clean water, one for dirty water. And I have other clips where if I wanted to attach some cloth for cleaning a brush, I've got everything I need in here. I don't even need to carry anything else. I've got my water bottle, some watercolor brushes that I always keep in here. And this is for my oil painting palette. This drawer holds all of my oil paints. And then I have some panels and my viewfinder. The panels are for oil painting, but they do make panels for watercolor that maybe I'll use someday. And you can store lots of things in here. This is an attachment I made to do a square panel for oil painting. And I absolutely love this. Again, I have an entire video devoted to this that I'll link if you're interested in seeing all the ins and outs. The weight on this one fully loaded is 2,769 grams, but I don't think you can really count that against it because it is fully loaded for both oil painting and watercolor. Even just taking the oil paint out brings it down to 2194. But again, this is an all-in-one. This is a destination piece. It's the only thing you need to carry to use. This is something that I'm planning to use a lot more in the upcoming months, and you'll know about that soon because I have a video coming out about that. But I have used it a little bit and I absolutely am in love with it. I was lucky enough to purchase this when it was on sale. I drooled over this for a few years before I bought it, and I'm so glad that I did. I would give this a gold star all the way. The price is expensive. It's not a cheap box, but it's handmade. It's solid wood and leather. The craftsmanship is so exquisite that it's worth every penny. So I can't even fault it for being expensive. If you're a serious painter and you like to paint outside, this is totally worth it. If you're new or a novice, or you don't know that you like painting outside, or maybe you like painting outside a little but not that much, unless you have some extra money, it might not be the best option for you. But if you love painting, and if you love painting outside, and if you love painting in multiple media, this is a total gem. Gold star A+ from me on all counts. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that this video has been helpful and that you've found some ideas or maybe new supplies that you're interested in trying out on your own. If you're interested in tutorials about drawing or painting, or seeing some more behind the scenes, you can check out my Patreon, which is linked in the description. Otherwise, I post videos here every week. So if that interests you, hit the subscribe button so that you don't miss any videos. I hope you all have a beautiful day with many happy travel painting adventures of your own.